Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and today we just came off the heels of the Remus Repeal Batch 5. Today we're looking at Remus Repeal Batch 6, picked up for $101 in Montana. This is the 2022 release of the Remus Repeal Batch 6, their bourbon whiskey. It is a 100 proof release. Now, so it's the 2022 medley. Let me read off the ages, and just like in the Batch 5, it's alternating between 21% rye and 36% rye mash bill. So if I read off a year twice, it's because there's both of those mash bills in there. So this medley contains 2% 2008 bourbon, 27% 2012, 29% 2014, 17% 2012, and 25% 2014. Now, that is pretty spectacular, although much younger than the Batch 5. I think what they learned was that they sold their fairly old whiskey for a fairly low price, because a lot of people were saying that the price for the Batch 5 around the country is kind of averaging $100 this year. The average price of the Batch 6 is kind of $120, which unfortunately for me, where I bought it, those prices were inverted. However, Batch 5, older, sold out in many places, so the fact that there was still a bottle on the shelf, you might expect to pay a higher price for that. But so the oldest whiskey in here, 2008, is 2, 10, 12, 13 years old. No, 14 years old. Sorry, math. But there's only 2% of that in here. And then from there, it jumps up to 2012, which that's only 10 years. So you have 10-year and then 8-year bourbon in here. That's making up the bulk of that, which also is not a little age range on bourbon. Most bourbons coming out between 4 and 6 years. You'll get some in the 8 and the 10 range, but those, it's hard to find barrels that old. Because the bourbon craze has sucked up a lot of whiskey out of warehouses. So things, if you've noticed, just this year in 2022, things have just started getting back to age-stated whiskeys from 2015 to 2021, and even still today, many previously age-stated whiskeys, bourbons in particular, had their age statements removed from their labels. One that I'm thinking in particular is Knob Creek. Due to this giant surge in bourbon demand, people all over just all of a sudden started getting bourbon in 2015, and things that used to be really cheap and sit around forever that were 10 years old, 12 years old. I mean, you used to pick up William LaRue Weller for like $60. It used to sit on the shelf forever. Now it's, $200-300 and you can't find it anywhere, and it's allocated and whatever else. Anyways, all those things make it a little bit more difficult to find some of that older stuff now because it's more popular. Add on top of that inflation, add on top of that shortages and grains and stuff and supply chain stuff during the last 2 years of COVID, and add on top of that cooperage problems and barreling problems. And from now going forward, you are going to see difficulty in ages and whatever else. And if you're buying something with a hefty age statement, expect to pay a pretty hefty price. Just be forewarned. So if there's something you really like, go out and get it now, because it's probably going to be a challenge in the future. So all that, long way to say, MGP once again, here we go. 2022 batch 6. We'll see how this stacks up next to the batch 5 of before. So like I said, younger whiskey in here, but you know what? When it comes to whiskey and flavor, age is not everything. Oftentimes older stuff, more oak, And me personally, that's not what I'm looking for. So oftentimes when I get an older whiskey, I'm probably not as big of a fan. I like those younger, sweeter notes in my bourbon, like a lot of those finished bourbons. But you never know. I'm gonna warm this up just a touch here and see where this goes. Okay, so already the nose profile is drastically different. By drastically, I'd say 50% different than what the batch 5 was. Um, there's still a lot of sweetness in there. Currently, the dominating note is still a red fruit note, followed by an apple. Not as jammy sweet on the nose, though, but it is solidly a fruit. I get a little hint of oak in the background. Now, the more I sat with the batch 5, started to get a little bit of grain dust. Unfortunately, it was off camera, but the last few drops that were sitting in the glass after I shot that video, I drank that, and man, it had some grain dust on it. It was really nice. Not getting any of that in here, although I am getting some peanut on the tail end of this. But it's mostly ethanol and high up in the nasal cavity, top of the glass. Once you get past that, some sweet caramel. It's light red fruit, light presentation of a red fruit, and some sweet, caramel, honey, those kind of notes in there. Quite nice. It's not as dense in the nose. It's still that fruit note is dense, but everything else in there is not as dense as the batch 5. And I guess I should probably save some of these comparisons for when I actually do the comparison video, which will be next. But what I got, a little bit of breadiness in that. Bready peanut. All right, so the nose is changing a little bit. So let's give her a pretty good little swirl in the glass here. Fairly viscous. Lots of fingers in there, legs, whatever you want to call them. Yeah. That time was a lot of caramel in there. Get in there. Okay. No thinness in it. Right away. Flavor profile is completely different. Hits you forward sweet, milk, caramel, whatever you want to call it. There was like an apple fruitness in the middle, not very strong and very fleeting. Right into a graham cracker, a very solid graham cracker in there for maybe a quarter of the actual flavor profile. Some nice honey in there, so maybe a honey graham cracker. A little bit of oak on the back end of it. No ethanol ding really in there. It's actually really good. Whereas, man, again, I'm comparing these already. But batch 5 is fruit. This is more caramel, graham cracker, sweetness, a little more oak impact on that. Maybe that's due to the younger age. I don't know. We'll see. Go back in on their taste. And nose profile hasn't changed really, and it hasn't changed. Not in depth, not in density, not in the notes. A lot more honey, sweetness forward on that. That caramel builds in. A little bit of apple in that middle, but then graham cracker, a little bit of ethanol black pepper spice in there, some oakiness on the tail end of it. Still really sweet, but a little bit of burn on the tongue on that second sip from the ethanol. On the tail end of it, you get a little bit more tannic finish on there. Really good. Not gonna lie, well balanced. No sharp, dingy notes in there. Even the ethanol that's coming through is not like a super big spike, not a super sharpness to it. Quite nice, quite lovely. Big fan. I might be leaning even more towards this than the other one, but only only way we'll know is when we do a head-to-head to find out, which will be coming up next after this video. The next video will be that. So graham crackers dominate. Honey graham cracker is dominating this for me in a very, very pleasant way. That fruit is just so much more tamped down. It's just every now and then you get a lingering teasing of an apple or or a strawberry, a red fruit. Not a raspberry this time, but just a nice, sweet, bready graham cracker. Almost a little bit of a peanut on the finish there. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, big fan. So, if I haven't already said, $101 for this in Montana. Was able to pick it up and make the exchange with my buddy. My buddy picked it up for me. So thanks again, Porter, for being the hero of this story. Big fan of that. And yeah, man, super excited to have these Remuses here to play with. They're really, really good. Looking forward to seeing what they do as those bottles open up a little bit more. Probably play a couple of games with proofing stuff down and whatever else, but big fan. So, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out Life and Whiskey on both Rumble and Bitchute if you are currently on YouTube. That's where most of the interaction is going to be happening. Drop in the comments down below what you can find a bottle of Remus Repeal for any batch in your area and where that area is, and also any experience you have with the Remus Repeal, whether you like it or dislike it and why. Yeah, if you are on YouTube, check out some of the other platforms because that's where we're going to be going. Videos are dropping on Wednesdays and Saturdays on Bitchute when I remember, or if I'm not hunting. If I'm hunting, then it might be on Sunday or it might not be at all or whatever, but pretty consistently, for the most part, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Right now, the Rumble account is just piggybacking off the YouTube account, so the videos that are on Rumble are also the ones that are currently being viewed on YouTube. So if you're looking for a great alternative to YouTube, check out Rumble. That's all I got to say. Thanks for watching, you guys. Have yourselves a great day. We'll catch you in the next video when we do a head-to-head of the Remus Batch 5 and Batch 6. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.